Beyond the Ropes, the Journey of an Outlaw. I am your host and COO of the SMIW, Connor McNichols. And we are here today to interview the outlaw himself, two-time United States champion, Sid. Sid, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks. Let's just get on with it, shall we?
Mind if I smoke? I don't really care. We're smoking anyway.
Sure. By all means, Mr. COO.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Don't you mention it. Ever.
They're a real tough guy. Well, I have some questions for you, Sid.
Mm-hmm. I kind of thought that was the purpose of this, but
I came somewhat prepared. Now, let's start. Okay, Sid, you certainly made a name for yourself, debuting in the SMIW as far back as the 2010. What many of your fans do not know is you actually began your career somewhere in the 2007 region. Is that not right?
Yeah, I guess if we're going to go all the way back there, that is true. 2010, you see me as I am today for the first time. But yeah, in 2007, I got brought in under some goofy gimmick. You see, the whole thing is this. All right, if we're gonna do this, if we're really gonna get into all this, what had happened was this. Let's go back to the very beginning. I have been a fan of the business, and most superstars or wrestlers that get into wrestling are fans of the business before they get into it. It's kind of how things work.
Sure,
you know?
Sure. You're absolutely right.
So, I knew that SMIW was around back in those days. I was pretty much looking to find myself, and you know what? I like to fight. That's just kind of what I like to do. It's kind of a hobby of mine.
You do seem to be a scrappy lad.
So I knew SMIW was around, and I asked to. I basically asked for a job, and upon bugging them quite often, finally they had at one point a release of several talents. Some I may actually reference later on in this program, you know, for obvious reasons. But they needed some more talent. I was knocking on their door. They decided to let me in. Now the problem with that, and one of the major problems of this company since I've been here, fortunately for you, you weren't around during that time. This was CEO Dwayne Rothman's brilliant idea. So instead of letting me just come in and do my thing and just beat people up, he decided that he wanted to create a character for me. And so what had happened was they brought me in and they said, hey, we're going to have you go out to the ring as Morpheus. And I said, what in the hell is a Morpheus? So they basically hand me this outfit, all white, wooden cross. The name of Morpheus is supposed to be some kind of religious zealot, apparently, was what it was supposed to have been. So, you know, for anybody who doesn't know, that's actually how I got into the business in the first place, was the whole Morpheus thing.
I see. I seem to remember when I've, you know, seen the outtakes and the backtakes and all the other takes of when we used to run this business. Mm-hmm. So, after you get your foot in the door, you did not start off as the outlaw. You started off as that Morpheus persona.
Right.
You tell me what it was like to be Morpheus.
What it was like? It sucked. That's what it was like. You know, again, I didn't get... I mean, obviously, anybody who gets into the professional wrestling business, you have to kind of earn your stripes or earn your way. You got to pay your dues, as the the popular term has been coined, as paying your dues. And obviously, at that point, yes, I haven't paid them, so I had to pay my dues. But it sucked. It was terrible. I mean, I about walked out of this company. They kept sticking me in there with guys that, as far as I'm concerned, weren't at my caliber, even though I was just starting. And the entire gimmick was not me, for one. The whole gimmick was trash. I mean, if we're gonna shoot on this, let's actually go there. Let's do this. The gimmick sucked, and it damn near ruined my career before I could even get off the ground.
Some very harsh feelings from you, Sid. Very harsh feelings. I can imagine. It must have been really sticking you right in the groin to have to do this.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole experience about made me sick to my stomach.
I would. I understand. I do. I understand you, Sid. I do. So let's go ahead. I'm going to say at the end of the SBWF in 2008. It was the last show before SBWF be closing its doors. And you debuted a new version of Morpheus.
Right.
Brand new. Can you tell us about that change?
Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot to tell. Basically, the longest short of that story is between the off season of 2007, when we were supposed to gear up for 2008, the third season. Basically, I sat down with management and said, hey, this is what I want to do. This character, this gimmick that you had given me is going absolutely nowhere. This is what I propose. This is what I want to do. And they stalled, and they blew me off, and they didn't return my calls. And finally, I get word that, there isn't going to be a third season. We're kind of closing down, you see. So basically what had happened was, I said, all right. So I show up to the arena for the final showdown, the last event before SBWF, as it was known, decided to close. And I didn't bring my gear with me. And again, there were some negotiations there about changing the character and changing my gimmick. And basically what you saw is me now. It always has been me. That's what I wanted to be in the first place. We just kind of kept the Morpheus tag for that. So basically, Morpheus was supposed to evolve and change into what I am now, with the same name leading into Season 3, but because there was no Season 3, it was just that one appearance, and that kind of just got left at that.
I see. That's very insightful information you have for me there. I appreciate you, Sid. I appreciate you. Now, your official return in 2010, XWF era. What did you do in the 2 years in between the SBWF and the XWF?
Actually, there's a whole lot to speak of there, and actually what I do in my personal time is none of your damn concern, first off. But if we're going to get into it, then really, again, I ride Harley Davidson. That's what I do. I mean, I like to ride my bikes, and I like to beat people up. So in that time frame, I did a little soul searching, decided to start riding all over this great state, and kind of just discovering different things and different places and a little bit different things about myself. So that was really, I mean, some odd jobs here and there, kind of keep me afloat as far as financials go. But that's pretty much it. Next question.
Real cool guy, riding hogs and beating peoples and stuff. Real cool guy.
I feel like you're mocking me right now, Mr. McNichols.
Oh no, I
appreciate it.
I never mock such a well-endowed wrestler as yourself. So, okay, can you tell us why the name change, was it? Is it because that's cool? Does it make you feel better as a hog rider?
Okay. I have to try to maintain my composure because I really am beginning to feel like you're taking jabs at me. And,
I never take jabs at Sid. I never take no jabs.
Well, we're just going to kind of keep moving along here. I'm going to try to ignore the fact that I think you're starting to piss me off on purpose. But regardless, the whole name change to Sid was because that Morpheus name was the last remnant, if you will, of the previous gimmick that I was given. And I wanted nothing to do with it in the first place. So when I got the phone call, and as a matter of fact, we actually, before we jumped too far ahead, I actually had to call the office a couple times because I heard that, what they would then call as the XWF when it relaunched in 2010, I didn't get a phone call like some of these other guys did. Apparently I hadn't earned their respect. I don't know. But word of mouth had spread, and it was to my knowledge that XWF was restarting, so I contacted them and said, hey, where was my phone call? Oh, we were just getting ready to get to you. Regardless. So the Sid name came up. Actually, the Sid name came from a movie that, one of my favorite movies, as a matter of fact. It's a movie called Beyond the Law, based on motorcycles, the outlaw motorcycle world, and that kind of thing. And there was one particular character in the movie named Sid. I really liked it. I thought it had a nice ring to it. And it just, it fit the transition. So, therefore, the Morpheus name, the Morpheus character officially, got the axe. That was it. Done. And Sid was me, as it was intended to be. And we came in and finally got to do what we were supposed to be doing all along.
Real insightful stuff. And you're a movie guy. I like that. All right, that's good stuff there. I really like what you are putting down for me here. Now, once you got into the XWF, you go ahead and strut your way in there like the cool self you are. Once there, very quickly indeed, saw yourself in the United States Championship picture. What did it feel like to win your first championship?
I felt like it was about damn time. If we're, in all honesty, I had busted my ass throughout all of 2007 trying to get some kind of break with this goofy Morpheus thing that they tried to get me to do, and of course that was going to go nowhere. So to finally come in, basically just as me doing what I do, winning my first U.S. title was. It was, for one, yeah, it was about time, but for two, it was, I guess there was a little bit of validation there. They actually put me in the ring with a guy named Dante, and Dante, as some say, is arguably the greatest U.S. champion in history. I know there's a former rival of mine that would probably try to argue that point, but Nick Thunder couldn't lace Dante's boots, as far as I'm concerned. So being able to step into the ring with a guy like Dante, and he's one of the very few, and I mean the very select few, and I could probably count them on one hand, of guys that I have respect for in this business, Dante is in fact one of them. And to be able to get in there in the ring with Dante for that U.S. title, and that's who I got to take the belt off of, well, if he's arguably, if not, without a doubt, the greatest U.S. champion of all time, and I'm the one that took the title from him, well, I think that accomplishment speaks for itself.
We're a badass finally gets his dues, and some harsh words to, arguably another great champion, Nick Thunder. However, your reign as United States champion did last a decent 5 months, till it came to an end in the hands of fear. What were those 5 months like as champion?
That reign as the United States champion was, I suppose, once again, arguably the highest point of my career, I guess you could say. I tore the house down. I stole the show with guys like Dante, guys like Fear. Of course, Nick Thunder wanted to try to rain on my parade, step on my toes. And before you knew it, he took his ball and went home. So guess what? Sid was reigning supreme. That's how that happens, okay? But being able to, if we really look at this for a second, You got Dante, maybe the greatest U.S. champion of all time. You got Fear, who is one of only 2 guys who are in the Hall of Fame. Former U.S. champion in himself. And these are the guys that I'm competing with. That is the caliber of athlete that I should have been competing with the entire time. And to be quite honest, that's the caliber athlete I should be in the ring with today. Being able to work with those guys was definitely a high point in my career. I got to show what I really could do with guys that I actually respect, and it was actually a decent time of my life and in my career. Yeah, Fear took the title off me. But Fear's one of those guys. Fear's one of those guys that he demands respect, and respect is earned. Being able to work with both Dante and Fear, they both had earned my respect. And I would hope, and I would think, that in return, I got respect from them. At least that's how I feel about it.
Very nice,
But
Sid.
the U.S. title reign, that 5 months, was a great point in my career.
Very nice, Sid. It's good to see that kind of respect shown from a high-caliber athlete like yourself.
Well, I mean, let me explain something to you here, COO.
Yes, Conor McNichols.
Whatever the hell your name is. Apparently you're the COO, and to be quite honest with you, I think this is the first time I've ever even seen your face. But again, as I had said, respect is earned. It isn't just given. So, with some of the things that you've been saying to me throughout the entirety of this program up to this point, you ain't earned respect very quickly. I'm going to tell you that right now. So if you want to earn any shred of respect from me, then you better start showing it to me.
Well, it's the chief, officer of operations, as the title would imply. I need no such respect. The respect is in the title. Mr. Would-be United States Champion. Let's move on, shall we? Should we just move on?
Yeah, maybe we should. That might be in your best interest.
So, I tell you, okay. XWF coming to an end. The final event for XWF, you worked with Fear one more time. What was it like, working with Fear in your final match, the XWF?
Well, I mean, as I mentioned, being able to work with Fear was a pleasure. There's not a whole lot of guys that, really had the high quality matches with him. I mean, he's one of those few guys that can bring out the best in anybody. And to be able to work with him was a pleasure. And at that time, again, XWF's folding, just as SBWF had done before. This could have potentially been the last match of all of our careers. So to be able to have what we all felt at the time was all of our last matches, to have my last match with a Hall of Fame inductee, a multiple-time world champion, a multiple-time U.S. champion, to be able to be in the ring with that guy, it was an honor, to be quite honest with you. And that's not something I can say about very many people. Looking back on it, I do recall that match. It wasn't necessarily a blockbuster, but we had very little time to prepare for it, and we did the best we could. It was what it was, and but I mean, if Fear ever hears this, or just so the fans know, I do respect Fear, and being able to step in the ring with him, especially for what was supposed to have been that last match, was it was a pleasure. I enjoyed it. Next question.
Okay. After the XWF folded, it was some years, until just last year, the SMIW reopened its doors and you stepped your feet back into the squared circle. The years in between,
Again, what I do with my personal time is none of your concern. And I don't know how many times I got to say that. The whole thing is, what I do, when I'm not in front of this camera, what you do while you're not in front of this camera, that's none of anybody's business, first of all. I mean, to the last couple years, there was probably just more writing. There was a couple other odd jobs in there, probably the same thing between SBWF and the XWF, probably the same kind of a story. I will say that I've met many good people that enjoy the same kind of passions I do for motorcycles and for riding. There are some people that if you get under my skin enough, you might get acquainted with more than you ever would have liked to. But that's pretty much it for the in between. So okay, let's move this along, shall we? I thought it was supposed to be about my career.
Well, you see, maybe a badass like yourself, maybe the fans want to know a little bit more about the tough guy on the inside and what he does with his free time. But okay, we'll keep this professional about your career.
The tough guy on the inside is the exact same tough guy as it is on the outside, and that's all the fans even need to know.
Well, maybe.
That's all you need to know.
Or maybe he's like a soft little teddy bear. That's about all I see out of you, really. Overcompensation's a sticky cologne. So, okay, you find yourself 2017. SMIW relaunches. How did you feel about your return?
Well, finally, unlike the last time, I actually got a phone call this time. Apparently, with the caliber of work that I had done in the XWF era and stint, finally, I guess, had impressed somebody. And so this time I actually did get a phone call. They wanted me to come back. I was eager to because I had done plenty of riding in that several years in between. It was about time to start using my fists again. So I was all up for coming back.
I see. So, last year, get into a pretty heated rivalry with Nick Thunder. Arguably a great champion. But you did earn your United States Championship back again. What was it like to hold on to that gold for a second time?
Well, first things first, you want to keep throwing Nick Thunder in my face. Nick Thunder, there's a part of me that feels that I need to thank Nick Thunder. And I need to thank him for his shortcomings. And what I mean by that is when we go back and we go talk about that first stint as Morpheus, it's because he wanted to get upset. He didn't want to cry over contracts or something, as he had said in his interview that I'd heard. So he wanted to cry and run home, so he left. They needed people. That gave me my shot. 2010. Apparently he did some of his personal life was all a wreck. So again, because of his shortcomings, I actually got a chance to be in the United States Championship picture. So thanks, Nick Thunder. There's a little bit of thanks for you because if you weren't such a screw up, maybe I wouldn't have got my shot. But as far as last year goes, I guess some genius, as far as whoever puts this show together, decided that we never got a chance to put those two together in XWF, and this probably could be something that the fans want to see. Part of me can understand that because I would think that the fans would get a kick out of me beating Nick Thunder senseless from one pillar to the other post and back again. But I mean, enough of Nick Thunder. I'm about sick and tired of thinking about him, talking about him. I don't care about him. As far as the U.S. Championship goes, to be able to take, I guess if he feels in his own mind that he has a claim to the right of the greatest U.S. champion of all time, and I beat him too. I beat Dante before, I beat Nick Thunder the second time for my second U.S. title reign. So as far as the greatest United States champions in history concerned, you might as well look no further than right here. So being able to win that second U.S. title, as far as I'm concerned, is the way I see it, that's my stamp. That's my stamp of saying, you know what? Dante can't claim that, neither can Nick Thunder. I can claim that I am the greatest United States champion of all time. That's it. End of discussion.
It's funny you would say that. It really is. It's funny you would say that. Because your rivalry with Nick Thunder was a very heated, very wonderful, impactful for the SMIW to have such great matches between you and Nick Thunder. And it's funny you would mention that because it was only a few weeks that you had the United States title before you lost it to Nick Thunder again in Apocalypse. So, with Season 1 complete, and your title loss to Nick Thunder, what does Season 2 look like for Sid?
You know what? I'm gonna try to ignore the fact that you just insulted me right then. As far as
no insults.
no
insults on this shit.
As far as Nick Thunder goes, okay. As the old saying goes, there's the hunter and then there's the hunted. Yeah, I had that U.S. title. I guess I was the hunted. Well, guess what? Now he's got that U.S. Championship belt. Bullseye's on his chest now. Now the hunter becomes the hunted. And just because the rivalry between Nick Thunder and I looks like it may have filtered off, don't bet on it. I'm coming after Nick Thunder. He's got something that I want. He might get lucky. He might get real lucky. That U.S. title I've held twice. I'm looking at the bigger picture, Connor. As far as Season 2 goes for Sid, my road is paved in gold and sprinkled with the blood of anybody who stands in my way. And that goes for you. That goes for you too. So, as far as I'm concerned, this interview's over. Because as far as I can tell, as far as I'm concerned, you've insulted me enough. And if you insult me one more goddamn time, I'm going to lay you right here out on this stage. So, I'm going to take my leave before I do something that I can guarantee you I ain't going to regret later.
Well, there you have it, folks. Very passionate words from Sid, the Outlaw. I am Connor McNichols, and this has been Beyond the Ropes.